Hi there, welcome to this week's episode of The Heart of a Youth Leader. My name's Andy Castle, and this is a special replay episode. Thought it'd be nice over the summer to just play back some of the episodes from a few years ago, which didn't get as many listens as perhaps other episodes did, so you may have missed it. I should point out that some of the episodes were recorded as we were coming out of the pandemic and the lockdowns, so some references will be around that. But I still think the content and the teaching and the input is really useful. And so I really hope you find this week's replay episode to be of great benefit to you. Have a great week. See you next time. I want to talk about invitation this morning or today, depending on when you watch this, and to think about what first brought you into a relationship with God. What was it that made you decide to be a Christian? For me, I was 13 years old. I'd grown up in a family of Christians. So my mum and dad believed in Jesus, and so I always grew up feeling like I knew who God was. But I realised that I didn't always have a living relationship with Jesus himself. And the thing that really made the difference for me was when I realised that if I was the only remaining ancestor or descendant of Adam, Jesus would still have died on the cross for me. And I'd gone from this place that I was an okay kid, I was an average kid, I was good at some things, bad at others, I was okay at sport and okay academically, was usually top half of the class but not at the top, if that makes sense. And to realise that actually I wasn't just okay, I was really significant to God, that even if I was the only person alive, he still would have sent his son to the cross for me, that the Father's heart for me is so overwhelming, is so desperate to be with me, that he would go through that cost to keep me and for me to know him. I wonder what brought you to know him. There was a time when one of the young people in my youth group, she was with us for about 3 or 4 years in the youth group, and then when she did her A-levels, she joined me for the winter term, September to December, as an intern. And then after that, after Christmas, she went away for 6 months on a short-term mission trip. She returned from her trip to Africa looking completely different. I didn't recognise her almost when I first saw her after she returned off the plane. And she'd returned with a very evident eating disorder. And we realised quickly actually that this was something that had been going on for a long time, but in Africa it just enabled it to expose itself. And so unfortunately she had to go into a hospital, and she was on a ward with another 10 or so teenage girls, all suffering with eating disorders. And I can remember visiting her one day and sitting with her and just trying to find out, the measure of the people she's surrounded by. And she said to me, "Do you know, Andy, out of 11 of us, 8 of us go to church. 8 of us are Christians." And I was like, whoa, what are we doing wrong? And so we chatted and we explored this about, what is it that churches are getting wrong, that we're not necessarily encouraging young people to have the eating disorders, but that was the reality and a consequence. And I guess first of all, it's just to remind us as youth leaders that mental health issues are for everybody. It isn't just for those who don't know Jesus, it's for those who do. And I know a lot of us are experiencing that in our youth groups, so it doesn't come as anything new. But more importantly, what we talked about was the fact that often in churches there's an expectation to do as a result of your faith. Come and change the world, come and make a difference in your community, make a difference in your school, do something about it. And those things are good, but the danger is we're saying you're not good enough, do more. And we don't, even though we wouldn't want to say that, we don't want that to be the message heard. And I vowed from that day to make sure that I could do whatever I could to help young people realise it's not about what you do for God, it's about what he's done for you. You are so important that he sent his son to die for you. And so the verses I want to choose today is actually from Jesus calling the first disciples in Matthew 4. Let's have a listen to these few verses. Matthew 4 verse 18 says, as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. Great name. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. Come, follow me, Jesus said, and I will send you out to fish for people. At once they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, preparing their nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Come, follow me. Jesus' invitation to these fishermen. And there's such depth in these words that perhaps we miss. I've been reading around the Jewish culture of the time and the rabbis. And rabbis would be looking for the best of the best. They would be looking for those who knew the Torah back to front, who looked like they could be like them. And what would happen is, as you're sort of 12, 13, 14 years of age, if you've gone through the various levels of selection and tests to be good enough to be a Jewish rabbi, you might dare to approach a rabbi who you liked and wanted to be like and say, Rabbi, can I follow you? And the rabbi would talk to you and quiz you and question you. And if he thought you could be like him, because the purpose of the rabbi was to invest in younger people to be like you, and to follow you, to act like you, to think like you. If they thought that you were good enough, they would say, come, follow me. And then the students would become disciples of that rabbi, and they would drop everything and go wherever the rabbi went. I've even read about a rabbi going into a toilet and all his disciples following him in because they didn't want to miss anything that this rabbi did. Now, I don't know if that's a true story or not, but it's a good one, isn't it? And so when Jesus comes to these young people in their boats, that they weren't good enough, you know, they'd been dismissed because they'd had to go back to a family business. They'd had to go back to doing something different. And Jesus, they don't go to Jesus, can I follow you? Jesus goes, come, follow me. You could imagine the sense of wonder in these fishermen. The sense of, did he mean us? Has he got it wrong? He thinks we can be like him. And that's what he says, come follow me. And I love the fact that these people are probably young people, especially James and John, the sons of Zebedee, which always makes me laugh. And it obviously made Matthew laugh twice because in 2 sentences he says his name twice. It's a great name, Zebedee. They were still with their dad, learning the trade of fishing. They were learning the skills. So therefore they would be young, perhaps 14, 15, 16 maybe, 20 perhaps at max. And that's the encouragement for us. Jesus was a youth worker. And so they dropped everything to follow because Jesus was saying, you can be like me. And that's what Jesus is saying to us when he invites us to come follow me. He's saying, you can be like me. I can see me in you, and I can see your potential. So come and follow me. And the challenge for us is, what are we inviting our young people to? Who are we inviting them to follow? Are we inviting them just to a sense of fun, a sense of community? Or are we inviting them to get to know the risen Jesus? And it's not about what they can do for him as a result. That's not important, although it's wonderful when it happens. We need to make sure we're encouraging them that they don't need to do anything but just accept the Father's love for them, because he delights in them. And I want to say that to us today. The Father delights in you. The Father delights in me. And he says, Andy, you're good enough. You're worth it. I can see me in you, and I want you to be more like me. Come, follow me. Go for it.